Hey guys, Sean Terry here. Welcome to the Flip2Freedom Podcast. I got an incredible interview for you here today with Shannon and Will out of Las Vegas. It's a phenomenal interview because they are brand new to the business. They joined our deal syndicate and they actually learned how to do deals with my team. They called sellers, they made offers, they got properties under contract, and now they are killing it. They have made more in the past 3 months than they have made from their job for the entire year by learning how to go out and do deals. So they talk about how they went out and got their first $20,000 plus deal. They talked about their other deals they have in escrow. They talk about some problems they had to overcome. But it's an amazing interview. They're two incredible people, and I'm excited to have you meet them. And they've never done anything like this, never done an interview like this, so they're pretty excited to do so. So this is Will and Shannon. Now, if you don't know anything about wholesaling, you want to learn about wholesaling, go to flip2freedom.com. Flip2freedom.com. You can download a book there I wrote. It's been one of the number one wholesaling books on Amazon for years. It's a great book. We'll show you the concept and the details of how to do that. We got a ton of courses you can learn exactly how to go out and actually do this business and go out and crush it. But wholesaling is an unbelievable business where you can get started and you can help sellers and solve their problems, whether it's inherited property, whether it's a fire damaged property, whether it's a landlord who has a property where a tenant trashed the place that they need to sell it, whatever it might be, we can help them solve their problem and be able to turn that property into cash. And we show you how to do that. And for you able to solve that problem, you're able to turn around and get paid doing it $5,000, $10,000, $15,000. Now, talking to these guys, their first deal was over $23,000. Their first deal out of the gate. And they were ecstatic to be able to get that first deal. And they talk about how they found the deal, what was the process, what they have to do to get it closed. It's a really, really great interview, so I hope you like it. So go to flip2freedom.com to learn more. Otherwise, let's hear this incredible interview with Will and Shannon in Vegas. Hey guys, Sean Terry here. We are finally here. We've had some tech issues, but now we are live and well, not live, this is recorded, but we're with Will and Shannon out of lovely Las Vegas, Nevada. So, which is pretty cool. I'm excited to have you guys there. I'm going to put my do not disturb on, otherwise my text is going to blow up. So I'm excited to have you guys here. What's up?
Excited to be here. How are you?
Yeah, so we've had some great conversation as we're getting all the tech stuff going on and some behind the scenes type of stuff, which is cool. So so we can't share that with anybody. So all right. So so first off, we're talking about real estate, and you're new in real estate. This is your first like full year, right, in real estate. So when did you start?
So technically, I quit my job in October of 2020 to kind of dive into wholesaling and real estate. I was trying to get my real estate license as well. But then we went to Extreme Freedom 2021, January. Was that January or February? And
January.
January, end of January.
Yeah.
And then we kind of really went head on at that point. I don't feel like we really did much from October to January. We're trying to learn, watch videos and learn stuff. And then, so since January, we joined the Syndicate 9 Mastermind and just got started. And then when was it? September 2021. So just recently, William quit his job to go all in with me on the business. And in the last 3 months, we have closed 4 total deals.
Nice. Okay. So what is your background, Shannon? What is like for work? What did you do for work?
Yeah. So I ran an AC company here in Vegas, which obviously is busy because it's hot here.
Yep.
So that's what I ran, the whole office, and kind of managed everything for that company. So a family-owned business.
Yeah. Cool. And what about you, Will? What were you doing?
So I've always done construction my whole life. I started having kids pretty young. So I was 16 when my first was born. So I've always done construction, and I was her field supervisor for the AC company. So I was the guy that sat in your attic for 10, 12, 14 hours a day.
Uh,
You were begging me to.
yeah. So in
Well,
Vegas, it's like Phoenix. It gets to 108, 110 degrees. So the attics get to 120, and you literally just you're melting,
oh yeah.
right?
Yeah, it's not uncommon for the attics to be 130, 140 degrees. It's
Yeah, just terrible.
pretty gnarly.
So one interesting thing about this beautiful couple here is you guys have 6 kids,
We do.
right? 6 kids. So you guys now, are doing this full time, and you got 6 kids. So I got 2 kids, and I only have 2 hands, so overwhelmed with 2 kids. I can imagine 6 with all the activities in life and everything they have. So I commend you guys on that. That's an achievement right there.
Thanks. I think the hardest part was jumping into this during the time that they were at home school because of COVID. We had kids here. We thought, oh, I'm gonna quit my job. We're gonna be here together working. And we have 6 kids here underfoot all the days. So trying to work and do school, it was a rough go in the beginning.
Right. So let's talk about getting your first deal, because there's people right now that they've done several deals, but then there are people are listening right now that have not completed their first deal yet, right? So for people that don't know, Syndicate 9 is a mastermind we have, and there's 3 different levels. There's Deal Syndicate, 6-figure syndicate, 7-figure syndicate. Deal Syndicate is where you guys get to work with our team, and you get to call leads, and you get to make offers, and you get to comp properties, and you kind of get the idea of how the business works. But it's still, there's still the process of going through your first deal and handling and solving all the problems, and actually making that into fruition, because there's a belief factor that I don't know if it's going to ever work. Am I ever going to get a deal? Is it ever going to come around? And then you sign contracts and they fall out. Stuff happens, right? So you went to Extreme Freedom, and then September, that time period was a gap, right?
Yes.
Between you getting your first deal. So that was what, 9 months, 8 months, right? 9 months.
Yeah.
So so that's a short period of time if you look at regular business. So if you open a regular business, brick and mortar, it could take 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 years to become profitable. My neighbor across the street has opened many businesses, and he opened a bar in right during COVID, was coming on the back end of COVID, and it was actually end of 2020. But he's still, to this day, now we're in 2022 and stuff like that, he's not profitable. He's still about $150,000, $200,000 in the hole from starting the business,
right?
Of putting money in. So tell me what your thinking was, because there's doubt, there's fear, is it going to work, and you're putting
crying. There's a lot of crying on my part, for sure.
Crying, So during that period, because there are people right now in that period, they're in that period where they want it bad, they think about it, they're excited to get that first deal, but they haven't got it yet. What kept you going during that time frame?
I think so my journey with Extreme Freedom ended with me asking you and I think it was Scott Oates, Nick Perry. I was ready to go back on that Monday. It ended on Saturday, and I was quitting my job.
Right.
I was done. I don't know why I knew it was going to work, but and my question to you was, I'm sitting in a room full of proof of concept. That's your thing. You got to get that proof of concept, like you said before. Why don't I just go all in?
Right.
And you said to me that your own proof of concept is completely different than seeing somebody else do it.
Right.
And so I still wasn't 100% on board with you, but I was like, okay, I'm following Sean. This is what he says to do. I went back and I stayed working. She was working the business full time. So we had a couple months where it was really dry. and we weren't getting it. We had our PPC going. We were dumping a lot of money into it because we were all in. We left Extreme Freedom. We were amped up. We were going beast mode.
Beast mode. Gung ho, baby.
And so you had jumped on a couple times with us and straightened me out with my lack of tech skills and on my PPC. And we finally had started to get some traction, and we got our first contract it was like probably May or June.
Yeah.
And we rode that one all the way up to the closing table up until 2 or 3 days before it was supposed to close. And another wholesaler came in and circumvented us out of the deal. We didn't have a memorandum filed. It was going to be 20-something thousand.
We actually did file a memorandum.
Oh, well, we did.
3 days after he filed the memorandum.
Yeah.
Ugh.
So, well, because the seller was nice enough to call us and tell us that somebody else had called them. And so we were like, what do we do? And somebody was like, you need to file a memorandum. So we did that. And then he had already filed one 3 days before us. So we got circumvented out of that one. That hurt pretty good. And then
I just kept telling myself the whole time, like, everybody falls out of contract, or everybody has these times. Like, I think in the beginning I was thinking, oh, we got this contract, we're going to close on it, it's good to go. But in the back of my head, I was thinking, well, but everybody loses contracts. Why would I be so special that I would close my first contract, or my second, or whatever?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that maybe I psyched myself out of that and wasn't super focused. But it was something that happens. It just does happen, and we just kept with it because we knew that even if we cancel contracts, we're still going to get there at some point. We just have to keep doing it, keep working.
Yeah, it was, I remember when we talked at Extreme Freedom, and, you kind of got to look at your own circumstances, and you got to make the right decision for you and your family, right? So, you have 6 kids, you know what I mean? And there's, and I understood the process that it could take, to get to a certain point at the end of the line. Some people come right out of the gate and they'll get a contract and they'll close it and the first couple times. Some people, for whatever reason, there's a little bit more challenge and hoops you got to go through to try to get that deal. And then the floodgates open, right? They just continue to come.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So like everybody kind of has to make their own decision for themselves on, hey, do I just want to scrap it and go all in, and or do I want to, keep my income coming in and then be able to, supplement it and set a goal and then pivot from there. I think that was definitely the right thing to do. So then with the contract, and here's what I found, especially talking to people and stuff, is that when you set a goal and you say, listen, I'm going to do this, we're going to be successful, we're going to do whatever it takes, we're going beast mode, we're going all in, that the universe wants to really know if you are serious.
Yeah.
They want to know if you're serious.
Yes.
So what they're going to do is it's like going to throw obstacle here, obstacle there, things are going to come up. And they're going to test your resolve and how bad you really say you want. Because there's a lot of people that have lip service and just say stuff, but then actually do it. It's completely different. So, all of a sudden, boom, most people would quit. Yes. Right? You're that vested. You get a contract. You're dealing with a seller. You're going down a path. You found a buyer. You're ready, closing table. And all of a sudden, the rug is completely pulled out from under you. And now you need the money, right? Of course, to get the deal done. And you're kind of counting on and have that kind of money spent almost, right? So you're kind of thinking about where it's going. Now the rug's pulled out. Now you've lost essentially 20 grand versus I've got 20 grand. Right. That's a mental shift that it takes resiliency to basically go through and then come out the other side and then look at the positive and say, you know what, I can get better. And if you look at that situation, go, what would I do different? How would I do it better? Then you can learn from it and then move on to the next. So take me back to that day that you found out that deal was dead.
I think so. I was definitely super devastated because I felt like I had done everything right. Mm-hmm. All the way to calling and updating the seller like all the time and saying, okay, we're going to close next week. Make sure that you do this, this, and this. And then to find out that she sold it to somebody else, just like, it just hurt so much. Like, I don't know, felt like a breakup, you know, it was just like bad.
So Will pulled his hair out and shaved. Right.
Almost. That wasn't quite yet, but
yeah, that was right. So if you knew Will had this big, long, like ZZ Top beard when I first met him, right?
Yeah. So I mean, it was because like with the 6 kids, our kids have never known us to do anything other than work. You know, like just the traditional 9 to 5. We've always been there. We make sure that we're at every event that they have somehow, and we managed all that. But now we're telling them that we're starting a business, and you know, we need support and all this other stuff from them, and
they can't see it,
right? And it's not a tangible business, right? Like that you can, a brick and mortar,
right,
where you can go and we're selling something where you can come sit at the shop and hang out and watch the people come and go. So they're like, oh, okay, you guys are in real estate or something, like, you know. And because I'm like trying to tell them, guys, I don't know how this is going to go. Like everybody's like, stuff gets really crazy in the beginning of starting a business. So maybe we're going to be on ramen for a little bit. Like stuff might get weird.
Yeah.
And so they're like almost scared. Then we hype them up that we get a contract. So, you know, we're jumping around, everybody's stoked. Yeah, we're so stoked. Then we find a buyer, you know, and Shannon's doing all this essentially solo at this point. Right. Because I'm still working, you know, 12 hours plus a day. And so we're hyped, and then to have to go and the seller's calling us, we're having to tell them, you know, she's telling us we're so sorry. We've got to call our buyer.
That was probably the hardest part, was that the buyer's EMD was in. So I had to figure out how to tell him that he wasn't buying this house anymore and get him his money back and hope that he never talk to me again. You know?
Right. So it's like,
because he's probably excited. He's got plans for the property. He's going to renovate it. He's doing his number. He spent some time, energy, got all his stuff in. Oh man.
Yeah.
So then we get to go back out and tell the family, like, nah, this didn't work.
All right. So at that time, did you contemplate quitting?
Oh yeah. I mean, I think we contemplate quitting every day until recently. I don't know. We did, you know, for a while.
I mean, it's a very real feeling.
I think that you think like, I think at that time, honestly, we probably didn't contemplate quitting then. It might have been like the next couple canceled contracts that we had gone through where we're like, this is not working, you know?
Right.
But I think then we probably were still on a high of like, we succeeded at getting this contract signed and we did all the steps they're supposed to do. Mm-hmm. So canceling the contract and having to go through that sucked really bad, but we were going to get a couple more contracts, so we were going to be good. But then after a couple more were canceled, that was when it was really kind of hurting, you know?
Oh yeah, because you're just like, I don't know. Okay, so that one canceled. So tell me about these next 2 contracts, the next couple contracts that canceled.
So we had.
Why did they? So to solve that previous one, if a memorandum was recorded, you would have been fine.
Right.
Yes. Right. So now these other 2 contracts, what happened there?
So if I remember correctly, one of them, we were pretty much also closed. We had gone back and forth about closing costs with the buyer. And then he backed out and he basically said the price wasn't right for him. It was too much work and he wasn't happy. One big issue we had with that was that we were trying to purchase a property in a really small population area. Mm-hmm. And get it sold as well. And there was just nothing around it. So it had to have been a specific buyer, and that buyer lived in the area and wanted to buy this property and fix it himself. And when he backed out, it was like, who else are we going to find?
Well, you know? Not only that, and we didn't, with that one specifically, where you say you need to make sure you stay in control of the deal. We had that because we had just come off the losing the one contract. We got it all the way. So it was real. Like it was almost that, like, you know, that proof of concept. So we had gotten we were still on that high, but when we had come off of this one, we were like, we're just going to do whatever it takes to get a deal. Like, we just got to get the deal. So he didn't like our contract. He wanted to use this contract. So we're like, well, we'll change some stuff and we'll go ahead and use yours. So then we went ahead with his stuff, and then he didn't like this. So we went ahead and did it this way for him. And so by the time all said and done, we had already had to do an extension once with the seller.
Right.
Because of his issues. Right. And then when he got done and bailed at the home stretch a week before closing, we went back to the seller, have to tell the seller, hey, I'm sorry, we can't close on this next week. Can you do another extension? Right. And now the seller's irate. They don't think we can perform at all. And so that's how that second deal went, was we just ended up, we gave up all control of the deal all the way till we lost it.
And then the third one was at Pottsboro?
Yeah, the third one was just, that was our own fault. The third one was our own
Honestly,
fault.
I think a lot of that was just not working hard enough to sell the property.
Yeah.
We thought we maybe had a buyer and we didn't try harder to get maybe some backup buyers or some other people into the property. And we really kind of slept on it and didn't really work hard on a daily. So I think we kind of just let that one go because of that.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I mean, it's, the way these deals come in, and they're, you got to cherish them because especially in the beginning, it's brand new and you have these properties in your, you almost have to be the beast mode. And I talk about that, flipping on that switch where you got to do whatever it takes to, that's what I tell him. Even my team is in here like that. And he's like, I'm like, so have you turned over every single stone? Have you called every single person? And it's not how you call them, it's what you say. It's your inflection in your voice and, how you're, how you talk to them. It's like, are you really pushing, or are you just, are you really committed to selling or not? So
yeah,
you're just going through the motions.
I think
that's going through the motions, right?
Where we were like, okay, are we going to keep doing this? Like, is this going to work for us? Are we willing to put in the work that it takes?
Yeah.
Because, and it was a conversation we're having and it was definitely an emotional conversation, was like, I felt like I was working hard, but the reality was, if he said, hey, what did you do today? I really couldn't think of anything I did. And not that he was necessarily holding me to, do this, do that. But the reality was that if I had to be real about it, I wasn't putting in the effort. And so once we came together and decided, okay, are we going to keep doing this, and are we going to keep working hard or not? That's when, it got better. But in that point, I think that's the point where we're kind of like, this is not, are we going to do this? It's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was talking to Jake, who works with us right here, and he's disposing of property. And I said, how many phone calls does it take you to get the property sold? How many phone calls? Well, how many phone calls does it take to get people in the property? And he goes, well, I don't know. And I said, well, I need you to track that. So text me every single day how many people you talk to and whatever. And we want to know, because I was like, listen, is like, when you're brand new, you're going to have to put more effort in because your skill set's not there. So he said, if you knew it took 58 calls or 64 calls to sell a property, now you know that you got a property in, I've got to put in the time and energy and effort to do 68 calls. Now the question becomes, does it take you a week to do 68 calls? Or does it take you 3 days to do 68 calls? Or you can do 68 calls in 24, 48 hours. And the better you get on skill by doing that means you get to make less calls, because the better you get. So I said, figure out that number, what that number is, track it, and then see how fast you can get to that number. Now you're going to be able to turn properties no matter what. And if people look at life that way, especially this business as that way, then you can work on your skill. You get better and better. So on Monday, we got everybody in the office, and I started making phone calls through some of the leads coming in. First call I picked up, deal in Corpus Christi, talked to the seller. They wanted 225, offered 200. It's worth about 3 something, right? And got it under contract on Monday, sold it today, $19,000 profit. So within 72 hours, be able to sign a contract, got a deal, turn around, sold it. on a lead that one of our sales guys, right, called in, he wanted too much, and he had a follow-up for April. Follow-up for April. How do it's like April? I said, my question is, say, listen, you want to sell, we want to buy. What's it going to take to get the deal done? What do we have to do? You know what I mean? Your comps are a little bit high. I need to be around here. What let's make a deal. It's like, and people are just going through the motions instead of just doing that. So I appreciate the guys that you kind of, you got to kind of dive in, and I think that's when you get that things start lining up. So those three happen. So where are your leads coming from? From like these deals and stuff.
So we're pulling lists from REI Automator.
Mhm.
And so prior to this, what were we doing?
So we've had
PPC?
we've had a couple deals come from PPC, and then we've had a couple deals come from cold calling. And so we've kind of it's been about 50-50 for us. The PPC is great because they're amazing quality leads. But for me, I was doing the PPC and I'm not a tech guy. So the understanding Google's algorithms and stuff like that is a very slow learning process for me.
Right.
But it's the ones that come out of there are amazing. It is what I am. The foundation of our company is going to be based on PPC.
Yeah.
I think a lot of these first three contracts were actually PPC leads. So getting the contract was way easier because they were calling me.
Yeah.
So getting the contract was way easier. It was how much effort we were putting in to sell the property, right? To get it moved. Obviously the first one was something that was kind of crazy that didn't work out, in our favor, but
our first three were PPC.
Yeah.
Okay. So now that brings us to June, July, August. Where
So we had the challenge.
So what was it? We got into the deal syndicate in at Extreme Freedom. So then we would be in quarter two. So July,
when did we do the challenge?
July.
It was for the 1st of July. So
yeah.
Okay. So you had no deal. You had a big beard. Right. So in Extreme Freedom, I mean, in the Syndicate 9 or the deals, we did a challenge, and we basically, they solemnly swear, we did in front of the whole room and basically challenged. And the challenge was get your first deal by what date?
It was July 1st, because I think we had our meeting in June.
Yeah.
It was July 1st. And we were supposed to have a $15,000 deal done.
$15,000 deal, or
shave my beard.
Shave your beard. So obviously he kept your beard off, but you had to shave your beard because the goal wasn't hit. But what happened?
So, everybody said, you really don't have to shave your beard. They just really want you to work hard, and whatnot. And so, but that was the deal. Like, I mean, the bottom line is you had set a challenge to me to do whatever it took to make sure that I got that first deal. Mm-hmm. And as we got closer to our next quarters meeting, and I knew I was going to see you and everybody else, because it didn't come off July 2nd. I'll tell you that. July 2nd. But as we got closer, I started praying about what I was doing. It was a lot of prayer. It was a lot of personal reflection about, what exactly had I done over the last 3 months to try to hit this goal,
right?
That you had given me. Because I mean, I didn't want to shave my beard. So in my head, I was like, if I show up with a check, it's going to be okay. I'm not going to have to shave it. But through that, I recognized that, like me, my part of the business, I hadn't done really anything. I was still just keeping on with my regular job, right. And coming home and, like she said, saying, hey, what happened today? How is this new business going? Are you
Are we making any money yet?
Yeah. Made any money yet? Right. And then, you know, she gets the contracts, multiple, they fall out. So, and it was a lot of nights of coming home to tears, like, is this going to work? How am I doing this by myself? So we get to the end of our busy season. So it's the end of August. And we decided that we had to go all in. Like, the beard was coming off and I was quitting my job. Like, we didn't have that dollar in hand, but we had dug up gold. We had dug up gold, you know, multiple times, and fortunately watched it roll back down the hill, I guess, you know, but
Right.
but it was there. And so we took a huge leap of faith after, you know, a handful of discussions with you and a lot of prayer and a lot of tears. You know, I shaved the beard because I didn't meet the goal, you know. And when we really got into it in September 10th or September 8th, something like that, was my last day at work. It was real. Like, it was go time at that point. And I didn't have an excuse where I kept the excuse of, oh, I'm working 12 hours a day. How am I going to call?
Right.
How do you expect me to do anything in the middle of the night, you know?
Right.
And so it was an all in and all or nothing, you know, situation.
What did when you shaved your beard, what'd your kids say?
It was they were all really.
He was like punishing himself. I felt like I was like, you don't have to shave your beard. Like, Sean's not going to shave your beard off. It's going to be fine, you know. But I think that what he was saying was that he was really self-reflecting and feeling like he wasn't putting in any effort, and so he kind of deserved that. I didn't necessarily feel that he wasn't doing anything, because he was backing me up, just supporting me, writing me a daily schedule, like helping me manage everything that I felt like I couldn't manage. So I felt like he was doing something. But now, like, when we look back, I can see where he was saying he wasn't really doing anything. And so I think for him, that was kind of his own punishment that he had to do to say, this is real and I'm really in it all the way, you know.
Actually, you know, it's amazing that self-reflection, because if anything you do, so, you know, there might be people listening right now that's contemplating quitting, or they're contemplating, you know, I don't know about this, I've tried, or whatever. If you can look in the mirror and say, I have given 110%, I've given everything I have got, you know, to make this, and it doesn't work, right? Or it's not working, and you say, but most people, if they look in the mirror, they cannot say that they've given 100%. And until you give that 100%, it doesn't work. You know what I mean? That's part of the way things work. If you give that half-ass, or if you give that, you know, 80% or that unfocused time, whatever, then the results don't come. And then what happens is we blame, oh, it's real estate, it's the other leads were bad, and then this was that, right there, when it's actually their energy and effort.
Your effort, for sure. We actually, it's funny, we some days we have those days where we're like gonna do work all day, and then we literally don't do anything. We feel like, you know, and we were laughing because we were like, okay, for an hour we're gonna make calls. He went in the other room, I came in the office. For 1 hour we put in the hard effort, right, which we should be doing every day,
right?
For like 1 hour we made calls. We closed that day with 3 contracts,
right,
of actual work, you know,
actual work,
moving things around on the computer and like watching videos and making sure that we're not scared to get on the phone, just doing it.
Right.
And it's so important to remember that, you know, you can't say it didn't work if you didn't put in the effort, full effort.
Put your head down. All right. So you shaved your beard, you had the challenge, now September. Tell me about that first contract deal.
So yeah, so we left that mastermind.
We had this one under contract that we
I think this is when you had under contract, but then you had to do almost like a retail situation, because you had to hire them to buy it. And then we had this whole, you had to figure that whole thing out, and you did it. Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, we had this one under contract there, and we had always had vets that had kept calling us somehow. They had reached out to us, veterans, that, hey, I've got a VA loan, I'd like to buy your property that you're marketing. And we called you, hey, can we do this? No.
No.
You know, everybody, no, you can't do it. Like, I'm just sorry, this is a waste. So we ended up coming up with what we thought was this like new age way of doing it. And we had
you invented something brand new.
Yeah.
We thought we invented something.
Yeah.
And so we were there again. She's ready to go. She's coming home from overseas, and so, you know, we were stoked. Everything was good. The lender was on board.
The seller was on board. He was actually a vet, so he was like really in on what we were trying to do to help her. It was all just like coming into place like it was supposed to. And then
week before closing, she ghosts us.
Our
buyer's gone.
No.
And we're like, it was crazy because she had been calling me and the seller. So both of us, him and I, are talking like, I'm really sorry. I don't know what's going on. You know, we really want to help her. So we kind of together, the seller and I agreed that we were going to wait it out for her. We're going to wait, you know, we're going to keep calling her once a week. Maybe she's on a mission. Like, what happened? You know, I don't know. And so we kept waiting and waiting. And I had previously had a buyer contact me about the property. And I told him we were working with the tenants. We're not sure when it's going to be available, but if you're still interested, I'll update you. So I kind of on the back end messaged him and was like, hey, are you interested still in this property? It might be available soon.
Right.
He was like, yeah, I am. So we waited
60 days.
So wait a minute. So you found a backup buyer for it.
Yeah.
Right. Because she started getting weird.
Yeah, it was just weird. Like, she's like, I'll call you on Wednesday. And then she wouldn't call. And then eventually we just never heard from her again.
Yeah. So at some point I was like, Shannon, we need to make sure we have somebody on the back end, because we'd already experienced this where the seller got mad at us for not being able to close.
Yeah.
And then we lost out on the deal.
Right.
So she had come across this guy she was marketing it still. And he had reached out to us and we were like, no, you know, we've already got it sold. But if something falls out, and then she ghosted us and we waited, we waited
like at least 30 days.
Yeah, it was 45 days after already extending a 30-day contract.
Oh my gosh. So where was this property?
In Killeen, Texas.
So Killeen, Texas. So that's a big military town right there.
Yeah.
Killeen,
right.
Texas.
Yeah.
So what did you do to market to sell the property?
So this one we marketed on Facebook. We joined the local real estate groups in the area and a couple like bigger Texas groups. And started marketing there, and that's where we got this buyer from.
There you go. That's a great idea.
It was actually the first one, the VA buyer came from an agent.
Yeah. From the same marketing.
Marketing.
It was all the same marketing. We didn't start over. We were just, you know.
Yeah. Nice.
So
that came from Facebook. All right. So now you had the new buyer.
Yeah. So on the back end, I'm like, well, are you maybe interested? Text them like, would you still be interested, you know, in the property? The tenant, he wanted the tenants out. So I was like, I think we can make that work. They're already on the way out, you know. So he's like, yeah, you know, send it over to me. So I kind of thought he'd be like every other buyer and be like, okay, yeah, you know, I want it, and then find a million reasons why he didn't want it.
Right.
But so I called the seller after waiting it out for like a good 45 days.
Yeah.
I called the seller and I was like, hey, you know, I do have another buyer. It'll go back to the way that we originally were selling the property. Do you want to keep waiting for her? Because I know that the process here that we thought we made up on our own was going to help more, you know, vets. So he really wanted to be involved in that. So I was like, do you want to wait, or do you want to go ahead and move forward with the sell? And we kind of just both agreed, you know, wait a couple more days and we'll make a decision together, and both agreed that we would just move forward. And if she calls us, we'll see what happens, you know.
Right.
She never called.
Still know what happened to her.
Yeah, we still have no idea. And then so this buyer went ahead and he had an inspection done, and there was some other issues with this buyer, but I don't remember what they were.
Did the buyer want retail, right? I mean, he wanted to use the VA loan.
No,
new buyer
the new
was
buyer
gonna be an
uses the
assignment.
hard money. He
Oh,
uses
so
hard
he
money.
was cash. He was good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he
Okay.
was good.
Oh,
But
I know,
we-
the tenants wouldn't let the buyer's agent go in and do the BPO for it. So he wouldn't let them go do a walkthrough, because we got one walkthrough from the other lady.
Yeah.
So the tenants weren't gonna let him in. So then we had to work the problem of how do we kind of force the tenants into letting us at least in prior to them moving out. And the property manager was also not helping at all and refused to talk to me, even after the seller gave him permission to talk to me.
Oh, geez.
So then we
Yeah,
had
I
to
think
work
I
that
remember
out.
this one. Yeah.
We offered cash for keys. The tenants agreed cash for keys. Then they decided they didn't want cash for keys. So we kind of went back and forth with that for a while, and then finally closed on this property fully.
Yeah.
When we signed, the day that he signed his paperwork, we were ready to close and it's in title and we're good to go. I think he brought home flowers that day because we closed the property. And I was like, what are these flowers for? And he was like, we closed the property. I'm like, no, it's not closed yet. And he's like, yeah, it's done. Everything's signed. The money's in. They're just waiting for funding. And so still for about 4 days, I didn't believe that actually was done. Even when we got our check, I think I still was like, is this real? Do we really do this?
Is this real? Okay, so for people though, so it was, you got it under contract for how much?
I think we wrote that down. So we had this one under contract for $270,000.
The 270,000, Killeen, Texas, right?
Yep.
And you found the buyer. What was their buy price?
291.
So 291, right? So that's good. And you had to kind of finagle cash for keys with the seller, right? And did you pay?
We ended up not doing that.
Oh,
They ended up just having to leave because they burned out their lease.
Oh, so they didn't get the cash for keys, but the buyer closed on it with the tenant still in place, or did he have?
Yeah, they had to move out in a week.
Oh,
they were on the way out. Everything had finally come full circle, and they had understood that they needed to move, and
got another place and stuff.
Got another place. They were just trying to drag it out until they found another place and had it done.
Yeah.
But they didn't accept our cash for keys, so they did it on their own.
Did it on their own. All right. So when it finally closed, what was your check?
$21,000.
So $21,000 deal out of the gate, first deal. And when you got that check, you got flowers?
Before I got the check, I got flowers. I got flowers the day that the buyer signed,
Right.
but I didn't know that we were closed.
Yeah. So he knew. So he brought home flowers. Good dude. And you got the check. And I remember you sent me a video.
Yeah, we couldn't wait to send the video over. And I wanted to call you and tell you right away, but he was like, wait till we have a picture with the check. Like, wait for the check.
Yeah, I know. Wait for the check.
Yeah.
I gotta send this to my wife real quick. So she's texting me. She's like, so you got your first check. So so now you got proof of concept. You did it yourself. All the cancellations, all the crying, all the contemplating quitting, the shaving of the beard. You now got the check. How are you feeling?
Awesome. Awesome.
It was the most relief that I've felt in so long. One of the things that when I first
was it better than quitting your job?
It was, I don't know. Quitting my job still doesn't I still some days wake up thinking like, man, I'm just on a long vacation.
And then you get up and Shannon's like, get in the room and make calls.
Then I come sit in the office for 12
end of
hours.
vacation, right?
But so it was the most amazing thing that I've ever felt. So is it better than quitting my job? Absolutely. I finally had and understood what you meant by you need your own proof of concept. Right. Because even though I knew at some point I was going to get that check as long as I kept grinding, like having it in my hands and like knowing that I just have to just repeat it, just do it again.
And that was hard. So like nothing can be harder.
That deal was so crazy.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, we slugged through what hopefully is one of the hardest deals of our life, and it's only up from here,
Until last week when I had to do math on my closing I had last week. That was hard. Extra hard.
That was hard, the math. Now the math
Yeah.
was like, how much money I'm going to make. All right. So you got that first one. Absolute exciting. Congratulations on that. That is huge. And then now,
for 2
huh?
weeks.
Yeah.
I don't think we cashed that check for 2 weeks. We just
Let it sit there.
let it sit there
put
and
up,
we
put
just
it up
looked at it.
there.
Oh,
Kind
and
of relished in it.
to the struggle of this deal, the title company sent the check in the wrong name.
So we got 2 checks. We got 1 check in the wrong name, and then they had to send us another check 3 days later.
Yeah.
You just got to keep digging. The gold's out there.
Gold is out. Yeah, I mean, think about it, especially what we do. We do it nationally. I mean, there are millions and millions of people out there that have real estate, that want to get rid of it, that don't want to list it, they don't want to fix it up, they don't want to go through that process, and they're calling people like you and I where they can sell that. So now that was September, right? October area.
November when it finally closed.
November when it finally closed.
November when it finally closed. And now, I mean, we're literally just a couple months in. We got December, January, now it's early February. So what happened? Did the dominoes just fall and they just start falling? What did you just, what? So now you closed 3 other deals, and one was a JV deal you did, which is cool.
Mhm.
We've got 4 deals and 1 was a JV deal.
So
3
4
other.
deals, one was a JV deal, but then you've got a couple in escrow and you got a couple more closing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it just became it was kind of cool after we closed that deal. We actually had been planning a trip with our kids. So we, right after that, had already been planning to go on vacation. So everybody was laughing like, oh, you're going to go on vacation now. You got your check. We didn't even cash that check yet. But the day that we're leaving for vacation, we put another under contract that day from our PPC, which is the one that we just closed last week.
Nice.
But yeah, it just became a kind of a domino. We also kind of a cool note is that not only are there people trying to sell their houses, but there's so many people trying to buy houses.
Yeah.
So this buyer that bought our first deal actually bought our 3rd deal as well. So
wow. See now you're building a relationship with the buyers, right? And then you say, hey, I got another one for you.
Yep.
Which is
it's been a snowball. Like once you recognize that this is actually possible, it's almost impossible to fail if you're willing to get up and go to work.
Yeah, once you know you can put the work in and it equals something, it's like no brainer,
So for someone that's now stuck in that, that area where they haven't got their first deal yet, they're digging, they're getting the disappointments, they're crying, they're praying, they're going, what do you think the biggest piece of advice that allowed you to flip that switch to get that deal, and then all of a sudden all these other ones now start coming? What's that switch?
I feel like, I think you'll probably agree. I feel like the recognition of the effort that you're actually putting in to your business is where that switch comes from. I feel like you might think you're doing a lot of stuff, but are you really? And when you can figure that out and really know that you're putting in the extra work, that's kind of where you start to gain really good momentum.
So massive action, massive amounts of action, talking to people. Okay. So if we were going to, add up the 4 deals and the contracts you have signed and the pipeline and the contracts you got closing, what do you think that total revenue amount would be?
With what we have
not in the pipeline
in the pipeline and everything.
Yeah, what you closed in the pipeline, the things you're closed, all in total.
Probably $90,000 to $100,000.
Nice. That's exciting. And it's primarily happened. Now it's been a lot of energy and effort thrown from January to like September and get closed, but then a lot of it's happened. So now the flip is the switch has been flipped, and all of a sudden, it just starts coming in. So can you see now the potential to make, $50,000 a month?
Absolutely.
Yeah. 15.
We were just discussing this morning that we kind of sat down and said, okay, if we do this many, deals in this month and this many deals this month, what does that equal for the whole year? And when we added it up, we were cracking up because it was way higher than I think we thought it was. I think it ended up being like $1.2 million in a year.
Yeah. And that's, that's amazing. And see, and the thing is, once you understand how to talk to people, how to solve problems, you understand how to market, and you understand how to sell properties. If you can nail those down, and then you can teach a team of people to do it, then it just becomes a repetitive thing. $1 million is really not that difficult in this business.
The goals we set were doable goals. Yeah. Now that we know how to do what we're doing and we've seen it happen, we can see that it's super doable to get to that point.
That's awesome.
I think one of the biggest things when you're in that moment of stress and like wanting to quit, like you really got to take and tell yourself, like, what if this does work? What if tomorrow's the day that I get my contract? Why would I stop today? What if tomorrow's the day? So yeah. I think that's really like one of the things, the first videos I ever saw of Sean Terry was he puts up this little picture of this guy that doesn't even look like he should be mining, but he's in this doctor's trench coat with a hard hat on and a light, and he's digging through dirt, and there's just a sliver of dirt left, and behind that dirt there's diamonds. And you were putting that up and talking about how you have to continue to dig through the dirt to get to the gold, to get to the jewels, the end goal.
But what if you stop and walk away?
And so that's what I tell myself, what if tomorrow's the day?
Yeah.
So if you go to bed tonight thinking that you're going to quit, what if you quit and tomorrow was your day?
What if that one phone call? I mean, I've heard of people who sent out postcards, quit because they couldn't handle it, quit. 3 months later, got a phone call from a seller, got a $30,000 deal, got 30,000, but they quit the business, right? They're like, I can't handle this, I've given up. But then, fate came and all of a sudden pulled them right back in.
That what if question got us our second deal, our $24,000, $22,000 deal was, I was at the end of my day of calling, and I just happened to see the address pop up in the same town in Killeen.
Yeah.
From the same place. And I was like, what if this guy's ready to go? So I called him up, and he had actually had another wholesaler that he was ready to go under contract for. And the wholesaler sent the contract for even less money than they agreed upon, hoping that he would just sign it.
Just sign it, right?
Yeah. But then they never called him back.
And then they never called him back. They just sent it and was hoping.
Oh.
But it was like, I think it was like $10,000 less than the verbal agreement.
Right.
And he was like, I'm not doing that. I don't understand why they sent it to me like that.
Right.
And so I was like,
well, if you're there and you make the calls and you show up every day and you put in the effort and you follow up and you do what you say you're going to do, give them an offer for what was agreed on, you can't help but people sabotage themselves in this business because they do stupid stuff, like that. So
I think that would be the one thing. Like, if you're thinking about quitting, just what if tomorrow's your day?
I love that.
What if you can make more than you made in a whole entire year in 3 months?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. That was
because she did it.
That was a cool moment for us when our assignment fee was more than my whole entire years of wages in 3 months.
In 3 months. It becomes addicting. Helping people and doing this business is just awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Well, congratulations, guys. Thank you so much. Sorry for the tech issues with everything.
Oh, that's good.
On there. So for everybody,
I won't ever turn down some one-on-one time with Sean. So.
Yeah, we spent half the day together. It seems like. Looks like I'm losing my light here. I got my window out here. It's like
I know.
It's getting dark.
done that. So doing there. So, hey guys, thank you so much. God bless. And
Absolutely. God bless,
great,
Sean. Thank
great,
you.
great.
You have genuinely changed our lives.
That's awesome.
Genuinely. And we couldn't be more grateful.
That's awesome.
So thank you, Sean.
Thank you. Congratulations. Boom. All right. That was awesome.
All right. Hopefully we didn't talk over each other too much.
No, you guys were great. You guys did perfect. See, if it was Angela and I, we're both dominant personalities, so we're just like always interjecting. You know,
well,
We do like being
realistically,
tapped.
we're just down here tapping each other on the knee, like,
I'm gonna talk
okay.
now. Okay, I'm gonna
yeah, my turn, your turn, my turn.
Yeah, exactly.
That's perfect. Hey, and the dogs only barked once, maybe twice.
Yes. Yeah.
You know,
The one time I thought they were gonna bark.
The person that we told not to ring the doorbell still came and rang the doorbell to get my
your son. Said they're ringing.
Exactly.
All right, I gotta go. Small group.
Yeah.
My wife's texting me.
Awesome.
All right,
Thank
well,
you so
have a good
much.
night.
We appreciate
Hey,
you having
guys.
us on.
You
Hey,
too.
this, a version of this is in my January letter from last year.
It is?
Yeah.
My gosh.
Which is so funny about the January letter, because I really struggle, like that's my personal hurdle, is like getting out of my own head and out of my own way,
Yeah.
you know, of my own self stuff. But she's really good about putting stuff down on paper, but she's got so much to do that sometimes like things aren't in the order that they should be. So her January 2021 letter was actually dated January 2022. So somehow her January 2021 was, we were going to be on your podcast, but it was dated 2022. And here we are.
Here we are. Imagine if you would have done it 2021. It would have sped up the whole process.
Yeah,
He'd still have his beard.
There's so many things that this year like have happened just in the beginning of the year that I'm like, that's literally was on my 2021 January letter. I'm like, I totally screwed myself. Totally.
Yeah. We like to do
now you
things.
got it.
Yeah, we like to do things the hard way.
I know, I do too. It's this way it is for me.
Well, you're like disappearing into the
Yeah,
darkness.
so have a good night, man. We appreciate you.
All right, guys.
Thanks.
God
We'll talk to you
bless.
God
soon.
bless, bud.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right, thank you so much for listening to that incredible interview with Will and Shannon. Those guys are amazing. So much fun. I don't know how they do this. Do the business and do everything they do with all the kids. It's awesome. So again, go to flip2freedom.com, flip2freedom.com, download the book for free, learn more, listen to some of the other podcasts and episodes, and definitely go to syndicate9.com, syndicate9.com. It's where you get to work with my team, just like Will and Shannon did, to go out and be able to do deals. We provide the leads. You bring you, and we work together. Almost lost my voice here. To go out and do deals. So again, thank you so very much for watching this, and we'll see you on the next episode. God bless.